We are joined today by a quarry of people. We have Denny Hamlin, team owner of 2311 Racing. We are joined by TRD's David Wilson, Monster Energy's Mitch Covington, 2311 team president Steve Laletta, and the newest member of 2311 Racing, at least after the checkers fall, I guess, in Phoenix, Kurt Busch. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I'll just throw one quick broad question out before we go to questions, which is how much anticipation do you guys have for 2022 when we take to Daytona? Kurt, I think we get to start with you or Denny.
Sure. I'll take the floor. Wow, what an incredible opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for joining in this morning. And to see the power of the people in this call today and the representation of Monster Energy, Toyota, and to have 2311 as a team that is now moving the needle in the sport of NASCAR, asking me to drive for them. This ultimately comes down to the power of friendships, the opportunity of timing, and the will to win. And so I'll hand it back over to Denny, but Denny is the one that really started to create the traction for this opportunity. And there's so many people to thank. We'll just go from there.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for us at 2311 to get, as we said in the or in the media releases, to have someone with championship pedigree, a winning pedigree coming in and help us build this program to where we want it to be. And when I say build it, that doesn't mean that we don't expect to go out there and win. We do. My vision and Toyota's vision and the vision of all of our partners are very, very aligned, and can't wait to get to work on this. This takes us to the next level, and I believe that Kurt and his experiences will help raise the elevation of our team beyond what anyone else could.
Perfect. David or Mitch, did you want to chime in before we open up the floor?
Yeah, go ahead, Mitch. You're muted though.
Yep, you're on mute, Mitch.
Someone break Mitch out of prison, by the way.
That's the first.
Am I on mute now?
No.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay. No, I just like to echo what the other two said, how excited we are about being able to bring a family member in Kurt Busch onto a legendary partnership with Denny and Michael. When we were first approached on this by Denny and Michael, we didn't know if Michael was just joining it in name only and he's friends with Denny, and if he had a minor interest in it. So I remember us meeting with Michael and Denny, and I asked Michael, I said, how much are you going to be involved? He takes a cigar out of his mouth and he takes a drink and he looks at me and he goes, "Look, man, I don't do anything to lose. I do everything to win." And I'm like, sold, we're in. Okay. Because, we have a driver that we have the utmost confidence in Kurt, and a long-term, member of the team at Monster, and good friends in Denny. And we just can't wait to get started. And we get to join up with Toyota once more, which we've had a great track record of winning all the way from off-road racing to side-by-sides to NASCAR. So we're pretty pumped up about getting back in the Toyota family as well.
David, would you like to close this out before we jump in?
Yeah, I'll just add, I think Kurt touched on the power of friendships, and for Toyota, for this family, this is almost serendipitous. And I come back to this seemingly random conversation that Denny and I had. I went back to my call logs this morning, actually, and my text logs, and found it July 8th, 2020. And Denny calls me and just kind of wants to talk about his future and some thoughts that he's having. And I was really impressed by the maturity and just the conversation we had, and that's what set it off. But again, Mitch alluded to our connections dating back to when Mitch came on board at Monster, and our friend Johnny Greaves, and the off-road racing community, and then Kurt. Kurt and I have become friends over the years, and seemingly kind of circling the drain towards something really special. And I will remind everybody that this is a bit of a reunion, because Kurt is already a winner in a Toyota. He won with his brother, the team owner, Kyle Busch Motorsports, at Richmond 2012. So we've been in winners circle together, and I have absolutely no doubt we'll be back. And that's just a special confluence of circumstances that makes me smile.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, we will go ahead and open it up to questions. We will start with Bob Hawkers. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, for Denny, can you go through the decision to use the number 45? And since you guys sent out a statement from Kyle Petty, I assume that you had some discussions with Kyle over that.
Yeah, obviously, it's Michael's other number that he used, obviously during basketball, when he came back from baseball, and he obviously used it during baseball. So it was a number that meant something to him. And so with it being 23, then 45, that kind of made sense. But yeah, part of the process is you need to get approval for a number. And when we initially talked to NASCAR about this, they says, that number's actually been kind of sitting on the sidelines for a while because of the Adam Petty thing. And so you might just want to have a conversation with Kyle. So our president, Steve Valletta, reached out to Kyle and had a conversation with him that was very, very good. And Kyle was glad to see it being back used again. And so then me and Kyle talked at New Hampshire. And, we really feel like, this is a good opportunity this is the best opportunity to bring that 45 back on the racetrack.
And I also want to ask, there was no announcement about charter. How confident are you that you will have a charter for this car next year?
Yeah, we're in the final stages of things, but nothing to announce yet, but we feel very confident.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Next, we'll go to Lee Spencer. Go ahead, Lee.
Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen. Sorry, Reed's got his computer on too. There we go. Sorry about that. Kurt, given the success that Kyle Larson has experienced after leaving Ganassi, and you knowing what kind of equipment your brother's driven in all these years, how excited are you to finally get into a place where every week you go to the racetrack, you're going to be capable of winning?
Lee, it's part of the equation, but it's not the ultimate answer, because we have so many unknowns next year going into the next generation car, and how even like the rule book really isn't set yet with that new car. But what I've learned in motorsports and any kind of situation in life is, yes, you win in numbers. And to be teamed up with 2311, who has a technological alliance with Gibbs Racing, and with the whole TRD family pushing as hard as they are to make sure that these cars will be the most successful group out on track. Yes, it's all right there. And I can't wait to add my bits of information, my years of experience, to make sure that the number 45 and 23 are as best prepared each week as possible. But it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. This new next-gen car will be a clean slate for everybody.
And Dave, you've always believed in quality over quantity. Now you're going to have 3 champions under your roof. How does that help to elevate the Toyota racing program to have somebody of Kurt's caliber?
Hope you're on mute, David.
After 18 months, you think I figured this out. But so, Lee, I talk about this tenet of Toyotas all the time. And sometimes we get a little I think, pushback, because we are very disciplined in our decisions. But, again, Denny and I said about creating this vision. and we made sure that we had the same vision, because that's not always the case. Sometimes, as we all know, decisions in the sport are driven by other factors, other pressures, sponsorship, etc. But this was a very intentional decision. We picked Kurt specifically for all of the attributes that he brings to the table, and there's not I think a better suited athlete to join the ranks of 2311 and Toyota. He will be a force to to raise the bar for all of us, and very much looking forward to that. And we now have another driver who can win in a Toyota, and that's always a good thing.
Thank you for your time this morning, gentlemen.
Thank you, Lee. Next, we'll go to Trey Campbell. Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah. My question, I was wondering if there was any chance of more expansion in the future. My question's for Denny, obviously, and I wondered if Kurt would ever have any interest in an ownership role at some point later down the line. Thank you for taking my question.
Well, it's always been a vision of ours to expand. This is the first step in that. However, for us, it's going to be about how can we get our two cars running up front before we think about doing anything further. Our focus is going to be solely on these two guys, and how can we get them up front in the top 5 every single week, contending for race wins. That's our goal. You can't just expand just to expand. Like you gotta figure out what it takes to win first. And so I think Kurt instantly jumps us up to that level. I believe that if you talk to anybody that's worked with Kurt, it's he's the best teammate ever. I mean, I haven't got a chance to work with him, but I've talked. As a reference, I went to lunch with about 2 or 3 of his previous teammates, and they all said he's the perfect guy to go out there and help your program with. So I think that we're really excited about it, and I don't want to sell our program short. I think that we put race winning cars on the track every single week, and I think that Kurt's going to go out there and contend for race wins week in, week out. So that's what our goal is, but beyond any kind of expansion into the future.
For me, finding the right role within 2311 is something that I still have yet to define, but I know that it's there because Toyota has asked me to do certain things with driver development. Monster Energy, a great sponsor of mine over a decade now, has always asked, who are the next guys and girls that we need to keep an eye on. And then from the driver's side of it, I've been involved in this sport. I feel like I have a PhD from the driving side. I don't look to pursue ownership, but what I believe I found with Denny and 2311 is the respect of his ownership level, the manufacturers, the sponsors. And when I'm done racing, I think this is my home to help add to a program and to make it as successful as everybody wants it to be from the inside, but not necessarily have my name on the building.
Perfect. Thanks, gentlemen. Next, we'll go to Greg Engel. Go ahead, Greg.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hopefully my microphone's working. Yeah, it is good. Kurt, you kind of touched on this, but I kind of want to follow up. You had a 10-year-long relationship, over a decade, with Monster Energy. How satisfying is that? Because that's a rarity, almost really, in the sport, to have a sponsor that's been with you over a decade, and to be able to know that you have the confidence in them to follow you to wherever you go. How has it been to nurture that relationship and maintain that relationship?
I think the key thing has been honesty and transparency right from the beginning. And then the fun factor, of course, with the whole program. It's a lifestyle in a can. Their edgy swagger fits the way that I race. It fits the way that my image is portrayed and how the fans absorb things. And back when it all started with Monster Energy, it was two Bushes. It was Kyle Busch and it was Kurt Busch. And I remember Mitch Covington made a comment. He goes, "Man, I can get two Bushes for the price of one. I'm in." And so we started with that. We won at Richmond together. And then the program needed to make a switch to go to Gibbs. And that's where Kyle and Gibbs, I think, won 11 races the next year. And I was like, absolutely, go over there, win, and we'll do something together over time. And it's amazing to see it all come full circle.
You kind of answered this, but do you kind of envision this as part of this move to 2311 as part of your end game, so to speak? Not that you're committing to, I'm retiring in 2 years or 3 years, but did you kind of look at that as this could be the place you could spend the rest of your career?
I did, and I believe that that's part of why all the timing worked in the way that it has. I started the 2021 racing season with a video talking about shifting gears. I didn't know where 2022 was going to lead me. I didn't know where the future was going to be in racing, and the timing and the people and the relationships are making this happen. And now it's all telling me that this is the right place to be, and it's most likely the final spot for me in NASCAR.
Thank you. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg. Next, we'll go to Kelly Crandall. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, and good morning, Kurt. I guess for Kurt and Denny, what has your previous relationship been like, and what do you think it'll be like now as Denny becomes the boss?
I feel like we've had a very genuine, competitive driving relationship on track, one that is rooted with respect. Denny isn't a young spring chicken anymore, but he came onto the scene back in 2006 and set a good tone. And over the years, we've hardly had anything happen on track, maybe one or two, but the clarity and the ease of dissolving the situation is because of the respect. And so for me, though, I've raced for team owners that are drivers, and that's, again, another quality component where a box is checked of you don't have to worry about my lack of understanding to know my role within the company at 2311. I've raced for Tony Stewart. I've raced for Kyle Busch. Great team owners such as Chip Ganassi, Roger Penske, Jack Roush, individuals that have raced cars before. And so now to race against a guy that's owning the team, racing out there as well, pursuing a championship, this is a perfect melting pot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I mean, I really respect Kurt, and like you said, there hasn't been much other than I think when I crashed him at Atlanta earlier this year, which he probably would have 2 wins if it wasn't for that. But it's just we have very similar driving styles on the racetrack. That's one thing that I noticed is that our skill set is very, very similar. We're good at the same type of tracks, and I've always respected him, and that's why I talked to him, and said this might be a possibility. What do you think? Forget everything else. Are you available? I want you. And so I believe in his skill behind the wheel, and also believe in his leadership inside of 4 walls. And so those are 2 things that we're really excited about.
And Kurt, one last thing, you touched on driving for Kyle in the Xfinity Series. How do you envision now being teammates at the top level and the same equipment and just being in the same camp?
Again, I think it gets down to timing and the amount of years that we've spent in this sport. Could we have done this early in our careers? I don't think so. I think it's a matter of the stories being set forth with Kyle and Gibbs for so many years, with Denny moving into the ownership side of it, and now with crossing these bridges, it's a 2-way street of information that Gibbs is providing to 2311, and now the information coming back has me involved in it, and there's a Busch on the other side. And so I think the Monday meetings are going to have that feeling of, wait a minute, do we have too many Bushes in this room? But it's going to be the best amount of people that we can find to put in the room to make this next gen car better.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, we'll go to Jerry Jordan. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hey, good morning. One's for Denny, and that is, when did you decide that Kurt was the guy that you wanted to pursue for this expansion with 2311? And then, Kurt, for you, you touched a little bit on it, but can you address the dynamic of actually racing for a team owner who is a driver, and how that's different than racing for someone who is not a driver?
For us, it started as soon as we talked about expansion. There was only one driver we talked about, and that was Kurt. So really, it was a pretty simple decision on our end who we wanted to go after. So those talks internally came months ago. We obviously had to kind of respect Kurt's timeline of when he was available to talk to us. So we waited till that was over, and then we had some discussions with Kurt, and I feel like that those progressed right away. I mean, the first conversation with him, it seemed like this was definitely going to be the right decision. It's just a matter of whether he was going to believe in us and believe in our team to do it. And him and his sponsor Monster, it's stuck with him, and obviously they believed in our vision as well. So we can't obviously thank them enough for their participation in this as well. They've been part of our sport now for a very long time, and they're a staple in our sport. You see them in all series of NASCAR. So I'm aligned with a sponsor that's very similar to that, where FedEx has been in the sport for a very, very long time in a major capacity. So to now have a major company like Monster believing us as well is just a great thing, and those relationships extend many, many years with Mitch and his whole team. Having dinners with them and just enjoying time with them. So I'm glad we're able to kind of put the whole team together now.
And as far as racing for a team owner that currently drives, it's another level of intellectual connection of knowing that you can't pull any kind of BS in a team meeting, so to speak, or that there's another set of eyes watching you, but watching you either in their mirror or from outside their windshield. It's more depth, and it's the ability to really define what the cars are doing in a setting with another level of respect. And so when I raced with KBM and Kyle Busch Motorsports, Kyle and I shared the same car, and Mike Beam, the crew chief, bless him, he had us two really dissecting every ounce of the racetrack to try to make that car better. And it's that level of detail that I think is exciting. And Denny will get to see that because I shared it with Tony Stewart over the years. And one funny story was I blitzed Stewart, I think 6 wide at Pocono one year. And then Monday he came into the team meeting and smacked me upside the back of the head, like, where were you going? And it's like you can't pull the wool over an owner that you just blitzed 5 wide into the corner.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Jerry. Next, we will go to Claire. I know she's been having some issues keeping her hand up on the program. So go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. I don't know. It keeps putting the hand down and I keep putting it back up. Listen, congratulations. This is going to be really fun to cover. And I want to say, Kurt, I feel like we followed you your entire life in the sport, right? I remember when you came in and you being feisty and you growing up and you getting to the point where you're at now. It seems like everything kind of led to this, right? How much do you think over the years that maybe everybody didn't know your leadership, but I think people did on teams know how much you were a good teammate. But what do you think? This is kind of the time of Kurt Busch right now,
Yeah, I think a key element is just being able to channel my emotions and my energy and the things that might get caught by the camera or out into the public to the right situations. And it's to build better crew members. It's to build better cars. It's to create better sequences through how you gain points through the stages and leading through the playoffs. I learned a lot from my first team with Jimmy Fenning. We put a championship effort together, and he taught me a lot about leadership, but I wasn't doing it in what you would say the public eye. And that's where I think behind the scenes, people with hard cards or the teams I've raced for, like Denny said, each of the drivers that were my teammates, I want to always make them better, because if I can make them better, they will make me better. And ultimately, the whole program will be more successful. So behind the scenes, that's where things have really taken good root. And that foundation that I've built now over the last decade, and the comfort with a sponsor like Monster Energy, has allowed me to feel confident in each place that I go and each track that we have a chance at winning.
And Denny, you talked about how perfect Kurt is. And, I remember going into haulers where he's with a struggling team and he's got sticky notes on tires, and he really knows so much about, the workings of the race car, et cetera. What do you think people don't know that you know about him that does make him perfect for this?
Well, I had a conversation with Kurt early on, and I got to thinking about, when he has, teammates that can really push him, that's when it seems like he really performs good. Like he really steps up, and his years at Roush and whatnot, like he's always had these rock star Hall of Fame teammates, and now he's got quasi teammates with Toyota, with now his brother and Martin Truex. I mean, I can't tell you how valuable it is to have those guys in a room and able to listen to information that they're giving out. I know it's certainly made me better on a lot of tracks, and now I'm like, now we get to use Kurt Busch for information. Like, the guy's got so much information that can make all of our teams better within Toyota. So to me, that's what really made it a perfect fit, is that we have another great data point and another great driver to feed us information to make all of our programs better.
Good luck, guys. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Claire. We are going to be limited on time, so we're going to try to get through as many of these last questions as we can. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Next, we'll jump to Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey guys, thank you so much for your time. I'll try to make it fairly short. My first one's for Kurt. I know that before you talked about having multi-year deals with Monster Energy, and I know that this one starts in 22, but I just wasn't sure, is this a multi-year deal for driving and with 2311? And kind of when you talk about your future at the sport, do you see that shifting more to the competition side, I guess, going forward?
Yeah, it is a multi-year contract with 2311, with Monster Energy, with Toyota. For me, it's, again, having opportunities outside the race car, and that is with management within the team to give some consulting to the program. I enjoy giving back to the world of NASCAR through commentary. Been doing that with Fox Sports. And so you got to keep your options open, but right now this focus to win with 2311 is my main job.
Thank you. And then just real quick for Denny, I'm hoping you can just, now that we're like at the final race of the regular season, hoping you can just sort of evaluate where you feel like this team has been this year, and from a performance standpoint, have you sort of met expectations up to this point this season?
Well, I think early in the year, we kind of set the bar, and then it seems like we gained about 4 to 5 spots through the middle part of the year, and then we've kind of just plateaued. It seems like on our finishes, I would say performance-wise, there's some bright spots where I see really good speed, but not very good finishes that back it up, for a plethora of reasons. But certainly I believe that we are continuing to get better as a race team. And I think, we just got to get through this first year of really digesting where we need to get better. And I think that, as far as meeting expectations, they definitely have met the expectations, but there are also expectations to continue to get better. So we have to continue to get better within our team and get our finishes where they should be.
Thank you both.
Thanks for your question, Alex. Next, we'll jump to Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead, Jordan.
Thanks. This question's for Kurt. Kurt, what have you seen out of Bubba Wallace as a competitor, and what areas do you think you can help him to kind of reach that next level of his career?
Yeah, Bubba's a winner in the Truck Series, and Bubba can be a winner in the Cup Series. It's a matter of just finding the right setup notes to polish up on. It's level of detail and his debriefs and his craft out on track. And so it's a matter of just getting settled in with him, simply going out, whether it's throwing the football in the motorhome lot or going out and grabbing a beer during the week. It's developing that relationship, but also instilling that drive within him to focus solely on the car and his team and find that rhythm that he needs to find out on the track. And so next year's car, it has a clean slate. This is a perfect opportunity for him.
Perfect. Thanks for your question, Jordan. We'll jump to Jonathan. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thank you. Kurt, I just have to ask you, you mentioned at a press conference in South Carolina that you had 2 offers on the table. Can you speak to just what the other offer was?
The other offer was a manufacturer behind the scenes. If a racing contract didn't come into play, I still feel like my experience and my value, especially with all of the new simulators and the iRacing world, there was things that I can do sim-wise because of all of the volunteering that I did on this next gen car. I raised my hand the highest for many of reasons, but mainly it was to gain the most experience in the next gen car that I possibly could, build my notebook up, and to try to help either the car, the manufacturer, or myself all understand more about it.
Perfect. Thanks for your question, Jonathan. We'll jump to Chris Knight, and then we'll finish up with Bob Pockris.
Hey guys, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Denny, I know Monster's going to have a heavy involvement with Kurt Busch's team next year, but are you in a good place sponsorship-wise?
Are you talking about on the 45 car?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Monster's going to have a huge presence on the 45 car. You'll see him for most all the primary races. So they've obviously got a big presence and got a long history with Kurt, and obviously we talked about my long history with them as well on a personal level. So yeah, you're going to see the Monster Energy Toyota many times next year.
Okay, and a quick follow-up: if there are any organizational checks for the next gen car, do we expect to see Kurt Busch in a second 2311 car this season at those organizational tests if they happen?
We got to work through all that. I'm not sure. We got to think about supply is one thing, is making sure we've got plenty of cars ready for Daytona. We haven't discussed that yet, but I'm sure now that we've got pen to paper, I'm sure this is going to be part of the fast track things that we talk about and where we go from here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. And we'll wrap with Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I have a couple for Kurt. First off, did you ever consider retirement or retiring from full-time Cup racing?
It was on the table. It wasn't the biggest category of thought, so to speak. But if things changed and Monster Energy called and said this, or Toyota called and said this, or Denny called and said that, it just, for me, I've completed quite a bit of my checklist in NASCAR, but this is another box that I didn't know that it would exist, and that is building a team from scratch, working with Toyota, and having a strong relationship with Monster Energy to go to a new program. And so all of that just kind of leapfrogged up ahead of walking away from full-time NASCAR driving.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but does this mean that you have more friends tonight as far as pushers and pushies?
I thought that might pop up.
You talking to me or him?
I was thinking I was going to get sweated by David Wilson first. But hey, I'm driving for the team that I'm with right now. I think all the Toyotas are locked in. Let's get through this week, and then I've got my agenda for the next 10 weeks.
It's deposits and withdrawals, Bob. Always deposits and withdrawals. Tonight will be withdrawal night.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, I'm so sorry we ran over time, but I think we had some good questions there at the end as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this